welcome back to the channel. This is our first official video message session ministry for 2021, and I just want to say welcome. I hope January has been good to you so far, and I pray that this message, as it reaches you in whatever state you're in or season, it will bring peace, it will bring comfort, and it will also bring something for you to remember and be reminded by, that no matter what happens, no matter what you go through, God is still in control. And I just came to remind you today, it had to happen, but why? Now, not a question mark at the end, but a statement. And as you go through today's session, you will get more clarity on why I chose that word and its double meaning. Because most times when something had to happen, you say it had to happen, you're like, but why? Why did it have to happen? But I come with an acronym of a sort, and also when you start to ask why, that your mind will, instead of going to a question, it will relate to these words that I have to give you. The words I want to give you for why, when you ask why, are wait, healing, and you. What about when God allows something bad to happen with no heads up, no meaning, no explanation, no dialogue, no subtitles, nothing, no to whisper, nothing to say, okay, I can see why this is happening to me right now. But there's no way for you to understand why. But let me just break off and talk about Paul and Silas for a moment. No, I don't know about you, but don't you think they could have gone to prison a different way? I'm just saying, like, am I the only one that when I'm reading like Bible stories, you're thinking like, God could have allowed this to go so many different ways? And so reading Acts and reading about Paul and Silas, we all know about the story because we all hear about how they were singing and praising God, and then the doors of the jail cell were opened, there was a thundering, and their shackles fell off, and the prison guard wanted to know, what do I have to do to be saved? And he served God from that day. But what I tend to forget, or what I think most persons tend to forget, is how they ended up in jail. No, they were on their way to a prayer house, and it always seems like something happens when you're doing something for God. Something, it just feels like something bad always happens when you're doing something for God. And we start to think that if I'm doing something for God, then nothing bad will happen, and that's not how it goes. So they were on their way to the prayer house. There was this woman with a spirit talking about how these are men of God, and they turned and rebuked her, and the people who were earning money from this woman, they had them brought them before the I don't remember people them, brought them before them, had them publicly ridiculed, flogged, beaten in front of everybody, and then thrown in prison. And I was just like, but it had to happen. All that led to them ending up in prison for wait, healing, and for them, they became better for it at their role in the doing God's work. I say all that to say that what you're going through or what had to happen to you was necessary. It was necessary to give weight. And when I said weight, I meant substance. I meant packative to your words when you're encouraging or speaking to somebody. Healing to others. And nobody wants to hear, sometimes we don't want to hear that what you had to go through was just for somebody else. And I'm not saying that everything bad that happens is for somebody else, but sometimes some things that had to happen to you and you wish you could just erase it, or you wish it never happened, is to bring healing to somebody else. God did all of that to set you up and align you so that you could meet that person and then bring healing to their lives. And then it happens for you, for future you, for your future character development, for your future version that is set to do more and great for God's kingdom. That's the why. That's the general why. It's to bring weight, it's for healing, and it's ultimately for you. Because at the end of the day, God works everything for the best, for your best. And I know, trust me, I know, sometimes I wish I could just erase a whole moment, like where I thought didn't help me or what I didn't think helped me in the long run. I wish I could just go back in pages of my history and just tear it out so no one could remember, no one could see, and it would not make a part of my history. When anybody asks me about who I am, who Java Lives is, I would never have to speak about those moments. We would always want to erase that bad relationship that made us lose our way, that mistake that seems to follow us, that childhood trauma, that failed business opportunity, that lost job, that ruined friendship. You may not like what I have to say, but it had to happen. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 says, everything that happens in this world happens at the time God chooses. And that is just something that we have to understand without trying to understand the reason behind it. I started off with why, because I know that's the first question we always ask when anything happens. And I love this message because God had to minister it to me first before I could then come and minister to you. And I don't want to get emotional, but some things I wish I could take back. But now, since getting this message, and I got this message from December, and he's been fleshing it out ever since, up to last night, late last night, and up to this morning. He's just been adding on to this message. And I just love how he had to bring it home for me first, so that I could bring it home for you. So I had to spiral and break down and feel completely and totally, utterly alone in October, late October, early November, just so that I could then speak to a group of girls and encourage them over a platform, over Zoom, and speak to them about, can you guess the topic? Mental health and awareness. That I had my low moment when school and everything was just late October, early November. But God's saying I had to go through that so that I could encourage these girls in December. And so that I could keep encouraging my babies at church and encourage my friends even in January 2021 from something that happened to me last year. And if I had a choice back then, I would have rather not go through that moment where I was just crying in my room and school just, and the weight of everything was just on me. But it had to happen, because I wouldn't have any weight behind my words to talk about mental health and wellness and overall my experience with how God brought me through that to them. I wouldn't be able to encourage them and bring healing to them who had or were going through similar situations. And then I wouldn't be the person I am right here, sitting behind this camera, speaking to you guys, trying to encourage you and let you see it had to happen. So, at the end of the first month of the new year, well, not the end, but you get it. I just want you to remember and go forth to the rest of 2021 and do some reflection of all the things that have happened to you. And just remember, it had to happen, but W.H.Y. Not why God, but I want you to remember it brings weight to your kingdom work. It brings weight to your words. It had to happen so you can help to bring healing. It may start with your family. Maybe you're the one to bring healing to your cousins, to your mom, to your dad. And I know you may not feel like it's your responsibility to bring healing to your parents, but I think it's time we stop thinking that we're the only ones who's supposed to benefit from a parent-child relationship. Once you're at a specific age, I feel like we all have a responsibility to help them as well. And it had to happen for you, for future you. So, every time you think that you don't want this to happen or this shouldn't have happened, remember that your future you is proud of you. He or she is smiling back at you because they know and they see the better version of you. So be encouraged this day and for the rest of this year that it had to happen. And not why, but just why.